Hey everyone, my name is Dr. Aaron Frank. I was a television producer and now I am a Stanford Internal Medicine Resident. I got a really great question on YouTube as a two-part question. One was how do medical schools view community colleges? And the other is what can career changers do to set themselves apart, level the playing field, etc. I think it's a really important question because it's helpful to know if you're putting in all of this time, money, and energy that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, that medical schools will think okay with your career choices and doing community college courses, etc. So I hope this video is helpful to answer these two questions for you. And I just wanted to add also, when I talk about the admissions at medical school, a lot of this is anecdotal, a lot of this is my own experience, but when I was at UCI School of Medicine, I was part of the admissions process. I did interview people, I did read applications, so I generally understand a couple different point of views. One is coming from the postbac setting, and then also from the admission standpoint, just like how people are viewing these things. So a big thing when you're applying is to limit any red flags that you may have. And so to limit the most red flags, it's by making sure that you're going to check these boxes. So the way I kind of think about this is there are things that you need to check the boxes when applying. So that includes your GPA, that includes MCAT, that includes prereqs, that includes undergrad courses. And what I mean by that is I think these are the ones where you don't want to have any red flags. And so this is where I don't really think it really matters where you are getting your courses as long as you check these boxes in the best way possible. So GPA, there is your science GPA, and there is your total or cumulative GPA. So the science GPA will typically be where you're getting your postbac courses. And really the goal is to get as many A's as possible. You want this to be as close to 4.0 as possible. Now, you could probably get an A-, you can get a B+, etc., I think within reason, but as close as you can to A's just allows you to just check that box, and it's one less thing when they're reading your application that they need to worry about. The next is the MCAT. This is the really big box that you have to focus on in order to check the box to get yourself into med school. So you really want the highest score possible. And I think this score offsets any concern that you have about community colleges. Because, okay, think of it from an admissions person standpoint. If you are looking at someone that went to a community college, maybe it's an unknown or lesser known or somewhere in a local city that's a small town, but with the MCAT, you get above 80th percentile and you got A's. It doesn't matter where you went to community college. It doesn't matter where you got the courses because it shows that when you are taking this test that every other pre-med takes, you are at the 80th percentile of them. So you're here. Now, let's say you wanted to then instead go to a postbac program that has more of a name brand connection to it, but your MCAT score is 40th percentile and you got A's. Well, that kind of cheapens then what those A's really mean, versus if you get A's plus a B, B+, and you still get 80th plus percentile, that still puts you in an entire different category than if you get the 40th percentile MCAT. So you want to check the box and get that GPA as high as you can, but you also want to really focus on and get that high MCAT score. And I'll do a separate video on prepping for the MCAT, how you can use the postbac to prep for the MCAT, etc. And the next place to check the box is the prereqs. So this is just the black and white of what you need. You need your chem, 1 year, you need your phys, you need your bio, you need your orgo. I'd really recommend biochem. And then this goes into your undergrad courses. There are just certain courses you need. For example, you need English, some social science course or adjacent. So as long as you can check these boxes, I don't think it really matters where you are getting your courses as long as you can check those boxes as high as possible. And I wanted to add a disclaimer that my wife wanted me to let you all know, because she's also doing a community college postbac, is that some medical schools don't allow community college courses to be used when you apply. You can check the AAMC site, also put it down in the description. So the second question is, what can career changers do or people doing postbacs do to set themselves apart or to level the playing field? I'm going to set this up into two different things. This is where the unique background comes in, but at the same time, you don't want to be too unique. So I'm going to put here normal, pre-med, activities. Meaning, when you apply, there's, just like with everything, there's a place to put extracurriculars, what do you do, activities, hobbies, volunteer, etc. For me, I tried to have kind of like a 70-30 split on my application because I didn't want to be so unique that someone reading it is like, whoa, I've never seen this type of person before. But I also didn't want to be too much pre-med because I'm not a pre-med. I mean, I did a postbac, but I'm more of a unique person. So this is where your experiences from your prior profession, prior things in undergrad that were unique. So for me, that was my TV station in college experience. I also was the mascot. I also did EMTing, which is kind of normal pre-med activities, but was unique, at least for me at the time. This was also my orientation leader. And I didn't do this until really towards the middle of my postbac, and then afterwards, I did some normal pre-med activities. So what I would count that as things you want to consider having is this is shadowing. I try to have 100 hours. I split this between multiple doctors. And why shadowing and other of these normal pre-med activities is important because it helps you tell your story. Where I did my prior career, I did a postbac, then I shadowed XYZ, which confirmed, yes, want to be a doctor. So another thing that I would put under a normal pre-med activity that I would recommend doing is some version of research. For this also, for my application, I didn't add this or start this really until a couple months into the application process. And it's okay. So it was, I don't remember specifically, but I started doing this in, let's say, July of the time I was applying. So it really was only like a month or two, but allowed me to also say prior career, post-bac, now doing some research, and why I'm interested in this, why I may want to do it in med school. And so it doesn't have to be, I don't think, profound research, but some research type project would be helpful there. Another thing, and I don't know how AI is getting involved with the jobs and stuff, is scribing. I also didn't start this until after I took the MCAT during the time of my application process. So same thing, it was prior career, post-bac, now as a scribe, working with Dr. So-and-so, showed me that, yes, want to be a doctor. My prior career will be helpful as a field as a doctor, and it allows you to show them that, yes, you actually know what you're getting into. And so this is, I think, the way to level the playing field. As long as you have some of these normal standard pre-med activities, you should be okay in the application process. But don't forget your unique background. Now, your unique background might only be that you were a different major in undergrad, and that's okay. But I think still trying to explain that you did this, maybe growing up you were feeling this way, you went to undergrad and studied this and this, you went abroad and did some art history month somewhere, and you wrote some essay that was really impactful, and how do you want to then tie that into normal pre-med activities, and then why you want to be a doctor. So I hope that was helpful. Quick video on how do I think medical schools view community college courses, how to set yourself up to check the right boxes, how to limit red flags. And then second, what can career changers, non-trads, post-bacs do to set themselves apart and level the playing field here in the medical school application process.